In ancient Greece, where the gods ruled and the myths were born, there lived a man named Lysander. But Lysander was no ordinary man. He was a messenger from the spiritual realm, a servant of the gods, tasked with maintaining the balance between the mortal world and the divine. He had walked the earth for centuries, carrying out the will of the gods, ensuring that the fates of men aligned with the greater cosmic order. Immortal and unwavering, Lysander had long since accepted his duty, knowing that his ultimate reward awaited him after 400 years a crown as the king of an otherworldly domain. As the years passed, Lysander undertook countless missions. He guided lost souls, protected the innocent, and fought against the forces of darkness that sought to upset the balance. His latest mission brought him to a small village nestled in the shadow of Mount Olympus. The villagers lived in fear, for a band of ruthless men, led by the wicked Theron, had taken over, causing havoc and bloodshed. The gods had sent Lysander to save a woman named Calidora, whose name meant gift of beauty. She was known for her kindness and her unparalleled beauty, a woman beloved by all but envied by the wicked. Theron had taken an interest in her, and when she rejected him, he ordered her death. One night, as Calidora was about to be sacrificed by Theron's men, Lysander appeared. With the strength of a demigod and the wisdom of an ancient soul, he swiftly dispatched the evil men, saving Calidora from her grim fate. Their eyes met, and in that moment, something stirred within Lysander, a feeling he had long since forgotten. Time passed, and Lysander found himself returning to the village more often than his mission required. He watched over Calidora from afar, ensuring her safety, but also finding solace in her presence. She was unlike anyone he had ever encountered in his centuries of existence, radiant, compassionate, and full of life. They began to spend more time together, and what started as gratitude on Calidora's part soon blossomed into a deep affection. Lysander, too, found himself drawn to her in ways he had never anticipated. For the first time in his long life, he felt the pangs of love, but as their bond grew stronger, so did his sense of duty. He knew that his time in the mortal world was coming to an end. After centuries of service, his final mission was nearing completion, and soon, he would be called back to the spiritual realm to be crowned as a king. But the thought of leaving Calidora behind was unbearable. He had never been tempted to stray from his path, but now, for the first time, he found himself questioning his fate. As the day of his departure approached, Lysander grew more restless. He could not bear the thought of leaving Calidora, but he knew he could not defy the gods. On the night before he was to return to the spiritual realm, he visited Calidora one last time. They spent the evening together, unaware that it would be their last. Lysander could not bring himself to tell her the truth, to reveal that he would be gone forever come morning. At dawn, without saying goodbye, Lysander returned to the spiritual realm. But as he stood before the gods, his heart ached with the thought of never seeing Calidora again. Summoning all his courage, he made a request that no messenger had ever dared to make before he asked to return to the mortal world, not as an immortal, but as a mortal man, so that he could live a life with Calidora. The gods, intrigued by his request, deliberated. Lysander had served them faithfully for centuries, and his dedication was unmatched. After much consideration, they granted his wish. Lysander would return to the mortal world, but he would do so as a man, with all the joys and pains of mortality. Lysander returned to the village, this time as a mortal man. He found Calidora in the very spot where they had spent their last evening together. When she saw him, her eyes filled with tears of joy and relief. Lysander explained everything to her: his true nature, his mission, and the choice he had made to be with her. Calidora embraced him, her heart full of love for the man who had given up immortality for her. They married soon after, and their love only grew stronger with each passing day. Together, they had 4 children, each one blessed with a spark of the divine from their father. Though Lysander no longer had the powers he once wielded, he was content. He had found a love that transcended even the will of the gods. But as time went on, the shadows of the past began to creep into their lives, and Lysander realized that his story was far from over. Years passed, and Lysander and Calidora lived a life filled with love and happiness. Their 4 children, Leander, Cleon, Ianthe, and Evander, grew up healthy and strong, each one embodying a different aspect of their parents. Leander was brave like his father, Cleon wise beyond his years, Ianthe as kind and beautiful as her mother, and Evander curious and adventurous. The family lived in harmony, their home a place of warmth and light. But the peace they enjoyed was not meant to last. The spiritual realm from which Lysander had come was not easily forgotten. The gods had granted him mortality, but there were forces at play that resented his choice. Dark entities, jealous of the gods' favor upon Lysander, began to stir. These were spirits of chaos and discord, who sought to undo the balance Lysander had worked so hard to maintain. One night, as Lysander slept, he was visited by a figure from his past, Erebus, a dark spirit who had once been his adversary in the spiritual realm. Erebus had been imprisoned by the gods for his attempts to overthrow the natural order, but now he had found a way to escape, feeding on the fears and doubts that lurked in the hearts of men. "Lysander," Erebus whispered, his voice like a cold wind. "Did you think you could simply leave behind your duties and live as a mortal? The gods may have granted you a reprieve, but I have not forgotten. You abandoned your place in the cosmos, and for that, there will be consequences." Lysander woke in a cold sweat, his heart pounding. He knew that Erebus was not one to make idle threats. The dark spirit had always been a master of manipulation, using fear and despair to bend others to his will. Lysander had defeated him once, but now, without his immortal powers, he was vulnerable. He kept this visit a secret from Calidora, not wanting to worry her, but the weight of Erebus's words pressed heavily on his mind. He had made a life for himself in the mortal world, a life filled with love and joy, but now it seemed that his past was coming back to haunt him. Over the following weeks, strange things began to happen in the village. Crops withered overnight, animals disappeared, and a sense of unease spread among the villagers. Lysander could feel the dark presence of Erebus growing stronger, feeding on the fear and chaos. He knew that Erebus was not just after him, he was after everything Lysander held dear. Desperate to protect his family, Lysander sought out the Oracle of Delphi, hoping to find a way to defeat Erebus once and for all. The Oracle, a wise woman who spoke the words of the gods, listened to Lysander's plea. Her eyes clouded as she entered a trance, and when she spoke, her voice was filled with the power of the divine. "Lysander, the path you have chosen is fraught with peril. Erebus seeks to unravel the very fabric of the mortal world, and his power grows with each passing day. But there is hope. You must seek out the ancient relics of the gods, hidden away in the forgotten corners of the earth. Only with these relics can you restore the balance and banish Erebus once more." The oracle's words filled Lysander with both hope and dread. The task before him was monumental, and time was running out. He knew that he could not do this alone. He would need the help of those he trusted most, Calidora and their children. Returning home, Lysander gathered his family and explained the situation. Calidora, ever strong and supportive, vowed to stand by his side, while Leander, Cleon, Ianthe, and Evander, though young, showed no fear. They had inherited their father's courage and their mother's heart, and they were ready to face whatever dangers lay ahead. With determination in their hearts, Lysander and his family set out on a journey to find the ancient relics. The oracle had provided them with cryptic clues, each one leading to a different part of the world where the relics were hidden. These relics, once wielded by the gods themselves, held the power to restore the balance that Erebus sought to destroy. Their first destination was the island of Crete, where the shield of Aegis was said to be hidden within the ruins of Knossos. The journey was perilous, but with Lysander's knowledge of the ancient world and his family's unwavering support, they pressed on. As they traveled, Lysander's love for Calidora and their children only grew stronger. He marveled at their resilience, their bravery, and their love for one another. It was this love that fueled him, giving him the strength to face whatever challenges lay ahead. But as they drew closer to their goal, Lysander could feel Erebus's presence growing stronger. The dark spirit was not going to let them succeed easily. Shadows began to follow them. Whispers filled the night air, and their path was fraught with obstacles. Lysander knew that the final confrontation with Erebus was inevitable, and it would take everything he had to protect his family and the world he had come to love. Lysander and his family reached the island of Crete, where the legendary ruins of Knossos awaited them. The ancient city was a shadow of its former glory, but within its labyrinthine halls, the shield of Aegis was hidden. This relic, said to be impenetrable, could repel any evil and would be their greatest weapon against Erebus. As they entered the ruins, the air grew heavy with darkness. Erebus's presence was palpable, and the shadows seemed to close in around them. But Lysander, driven by his love for his family and the need to protect the world, pressed on. They navigated the twisting corridors, avoiding traps and overcoming obstacles that had been laid to deter those who sought the shield. At the heart of the labyrinth, they found the shield of Aegis, glowing with an ethereal light. But as Lysander reached out to take it, Erebus appeared, a swirling mass of darkness that filled the chamber. "You are a fool, Lysander," Erebus hissed. "Did you really think you could defy the gods and live happily ever after? Your defiance has brought ruin upon you and your family." Lysander, holding the shield, stepped forward. "I may have defied the gods, but I did so for love. A love that is stronger than your hatred, stronger than your darkness." Erebus laughed, a cold, hollow sound. "Love is weakness, and it will be your downfall." With that, Erebus unleashed his full fury. Shadows surged forward, engulfing Lysander and his family. But Lysander stood firm, raising the shield of Aegis. The shield's light blazed, pushing back the darkness. Erebus howled in anger as the light pierced through his form, weakening him. Lysander's children, inspired by their father's courage, joined in the fight. Leander, with the strength of a warrior, protected his siblings, while Cleon used his wisdom to outmaneuver the shadows. Ianthe, with her kindness, calmed the raging spirits that Erebus had summoned, and Evander, with his adventurous spirit, found a way to trap Erebus within the ruins. As the battle raged on, Calidora stood by Lysander's side, her love for him giving him the strength to continue. Together, they fought against Erebus, and with a final, powerful strike, Lysander banished the dark spirit back to the abyss from which he had come. The ruins of Knossos trembled as Erebus was sealed away, the darkness lifting, replaced by the warm light of the sun. Lysander, exhausted but victorious, looked at his family with pride. They had faced the greatest evil and emerged triumphant, not through power alone, but through love, courage, and unity. With Erebus defeated, the balance in the mortal world was restored. Lysander and his family returned to their village, where they were welcomed as heroes. The shield of Aegis was returned to the gods, its purpose fulfilled. Lysander and Calidora lived out their days in peace, their love growing deeper with each passing year. Their children grew up to be wise and strong, carrying the lessons they had learned from their parents into the world. Lysander often reflected on his journey, the choices he had made, and the battles he had fought. He realized that true strength did not come from immortality or divine power, but from the love and bonds that connect us to others. It was love that had given him the courage to face his past, to protect his family, and to overcome the darkness. The story of Lysander and Calidora teaches us that love is the most powerful force in the world. It can give us the strength to face our greatest fears, the courage to defy the odds, and the resilience to overcome even the darkest challenges. But it also reminds us that with great love comes great responsibility. The choices we make out of love can shape our destinies and the destinies of those we care about. In the end, Lysander's greatest victory was not the defeat of Erebus, but the life he built with Calidora, a life rooted in love, trust, and unity. It is a reminder that while we may face darkness in our lives, it is love that will guide us through and bring us to the light. And so, Lysander and Calidora's story ends with a timeless truth. Love is the light that banishes all shadows.